The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by the Firearms Radio Network. Firearmsradio.tv.
Welcome to episode 94 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challand, and this is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Almost forgot to hit record there. Good thing. Brownells helps make this episode of Gun Guy Radio possible. Selection, service, and satisfaction. Find it all at Brownells. Go to gunguyradio.com/satisfaction. I have two special guests, Jared Octor, the Firearms Insider Senior Editor. Hey, Jared.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
And Ryan Machad, the host, producer of Handgun Radio. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing?
First, we have a few announcements. So the Firearms Insider blog, we have a community blog on there, and Carol Salva just put a new blog post up actually today, so you can check that out. It's titled Choose Your Friends Wisely. And Carol is the host of FRN's Fat to Fit podcast, and the Firearms Insider is at firearmsinsider.tv. Ryan, you've been contributing a lot of videos. I think by far you have the most video reviews.
The last one I did was the North American Arms mini revolver. I think that was probably 2 weeks ago or so. And then there's a few like the Smith & Wesson Shield, M&P 22, Ruger SR 22, and a few more.
Very cool. We're also seeking gun and gear reviewers, right, Jared? We're looking for just anyone that wants to contribute. You know, we'll help them. Give them an outline, show them a little bit what we're looking for the Firearms Insider, and you and Mike look those over and post them up. So if you're listening to this right now and you want to review, like if you have like any of the latest firearms or even classic firearms like Ryan does, feel free if you'd like to do a review. It doesn't have to be video, but it could be video, audio, or just written. Like Steve Remy, he does really great written blog post style reviews. But you can send an email to Mike at firearmsinsider.tv if you're interested in doing your own review, if you want to be part of the community. And I'm actually looking for an assistant producer and possible co-host for Gun Guy Radio here. So if you're at all interested, you can email Jake at firearmsradio.tv. I'm looking for someone that has experience with audio editing and, basic knowledge of WordPress. And, of course, you have to be a gun guy. So I suppose I could have a gun girl on the show, but because I am on Gun Girl Radio, so that might work kind of. Crickets?
Is that kind of like you're on The View? You're like that one guy that gives the
You're the one guy that goes on The View and gets roasted.
Oh, no. Not The View.
Not that I've ever seen it. I heard. That's what I heard, Ryan.
Also like to mention the We Like Shooting podcast, one of the newer shows on the network, WeLikeShootingPodcast.com. You can find them in iTunes, and you can... I made a direct link here. It's WeLikeShootingPodcast.com/iTunes. Check them out. Leave them an iTunes review. It really helps the newer shows, leaving those iTunes reviews. Last announcement is that we have an FRN Android app, so that you can find that in the Google Play Store, or I have a direct link that's firearmsradio.tv/Android. You can check that out. It's under $5. It's not bad at all. Cold weather winter firearms carry. Now, Ryan, you must have quite the experience with cold weather being up there in Maine.
Oh, man, yeah, it is... Well, right now it is 5:05 p.m. where I am, and it is like 26 degrees out.
How much snow do you have on the ground?
No snow yet. There was a frost on the ground, but It was pretty cold this morning when I went out hunting. I think it was probably right around like 22, 23 degrees when I went out to my car. It's something you got to really think about, though, because cold weather, obviously, I mean, in Maine we have the whole spectrum of seasons. You have the really cold and the really warm, and in Maine it's either too hot or it's too cold. There's never a good in between, and so you really got to think about like how the weather affects how other people dress, because if you're in, that can affect your bullet performance, but then how you dress can affect what kind of gun you carry too.
Yeah, that's something that you don't often think about, is how a bullet may perform depending on what the bad guy might be wearing. So we'll get into that, and let's first talk a little bit about holsters and maybe positions to carry. So what how do you carry in cold weather, Ryan?
Well, it depends. Depends on what I'm carrying. Typically, I usually carry a Smith & Wesson Model 60, and I usually carry it appendix carry just on my strong side, like my hip bone. But during the wintertime, you can't do that because your coat comes down in front of it. So to access that gun, you either have to have the coat open, which if it's cold out, you're not going to have it unzipped, and you have to lift the coat up. So you're kind of telegraphing what you're doing to the person you're drawing on. So that's not really sound. So either I do pocket carry with a pocket holster if the pants I'm wearing have a big enough pocket, or I have a coat. It's an old cop coat, and it has these two zippers on the side that allow for the duty belt that would normally be worn. And I can leave one of those zippers undone, and it's not noticeable, but it allows me to access my gun underneath the coat.
So does it say like police real big on it? Or?
No, it just has like the pockets on the front, and it has the American flag patch and like a place for the badge to clip. But other than that, there's nothing on it. But it works well for that in the wintertime because you can just leave that unzipped. And because I mean, if you're drawing concealed carry, you're in a situation where you got to draw that handgun. You don't want to make these furtive movements that are going to tell the guy, hey, I'm drawing a gun. You don't want him to think that the person's drawing a gun. Maybe like you're going for your wallet to give it to him or something. But so having that ability to not have to like lift your coat up and telegraph, hey, he's doing something that doesn't look right. You can just like slowly reach inside the coat and get the gun easily.
Probably the quicker solution for cold weather carry. Now, I'm going to preface this with I have no experience hands-on with this because up till now we had no option to even carry in Illinois, but we will this after the first of the year.
Why don't you just rub it in, Jake?
Yeah. Sorry, Jared, there in New Jersey. Well, yeah, I mean, I asked me that 2 years ago, I would have never thought this day would come, but it's here and or it will be here. So my best guess is what I've heard others talk about and the other resources I've seen online, whether it's a blog or a podcast. So it seems to be that pocket carry, if you have big enough pockets, would be a real option. But that's just the thing. You need a big enough pocket to, not only put your hand in, but to kind of make a fist. You don't want to be like a monkey putting your hand in the coconut and not being able to get your hand back out. So it's got to be big enough to do that and to accommodate a pocket holster and everything.
Well, and that's the thing. You're making an exception, really, because, like for instance, like my Model 60 is a 38 Special, and that's pretty much the maximum of what you're going to put in your pocket, and it only carries 5 shots of 38. For some people, that wouldn't be adequate for them. I carried another 5-shot speed loader, but a lot of people may switch to a smaller caliber gun to allow that that pocket carry, and the problem there is, and like you said, we'll discuss later, is that bullet performance. Expansion is driven by velocity, and from a handgun, you lose velocity. The handgun bullets, the advertised velocity, you typically don't reach that, especially they're using a test barrel that could be 7, 8, or up to 16 inches or more. when they're doing those velocity tests. So out of a little tiny like Ruger LCP, you're not going to get that speed, and you may not have it expand right.
Ryan, like Jake, I'm going to look to you as the expert in the subject since I'm not allowed to conceal carry in my state. What about like a paddle holster? Any experience like using like the Black Hawk paddle holsters?
I have used those. Those are dependent upon. I mean, their convenience outweighs some of the issues with them. I prefer like leather belt holsters, like the slide holsters, just because when you're going to pull that gun, if you have a paddle holster and for some reason you forget to trip the retention switch, like on the Black Hawk, the Serpa, where you have to press the button in with your finger. Mm-hmm. If you happen to forget to hit that switch and you yank up on the gun, you're likely to come up out of your pants with the paddle holster. That's the only thing I've found. I had a paddle holster for my P226, and that happened to me. It didn't have any retention like that. It just had like spring retention from the Kydex. And if you weren't wearing the right pants and you didn't have your belt tight enough, there's little catches on the inside of the paddle that sort of prevent it from riding up over your belt. And the retention just hadn't been worn in enough, and I yanked on it, and the whole holster came out, and it was like, oh, that would be great if I had to draw the gun for serious purposes.
Well, yeah, that's something else to take in consideration, because a lot of these newer polymer guns will come with a paddle holster, like the Springfield XDM, there's M&P sets, range, I forget what they call them, like a Range Pro or something, a set that comes with a paddle holster. There's, I think, some SIGs come with a paddle holster?
I think some of the newer ones do. I think I'm pretty sure the SIG P250 models, the ones that had like the different calibers and frames and stuff like that, I think that came with that.
But I had a 9mm XDM, and that paddle holster was great for the range, but it was a loose fit. I'd be concerned having the gun fall out somehow. Especially, that's something else you got to think about winter carry. I think if you're doing an OWB and outside the waistband holster, or even inside, and you have like a coat that's or a long shirt that's draped on it, that could pull up on the gun at some point, possibly, or getting in and out of a car. And if you don't have the proper retention, you could, have that gun fall out.
I mean, honestly, it's you got to think about like your body style too. For me, I have an odd body shape. I got a little bit of a spare tire, and I can't carry guns in certain positions. For me, a shoulder holster is comfortable. For me, a holster like at probably 4 o'clock is comfortable. But I'm not good with like appendix carry way up front. I kind of do it right on my hip bone, like sort of on my strong side almost, but just forward of it. Not true appendix carry. So, I mean, you got to consider your body shape too, which for some people who are tall and slender, they can conceal a full-size Glock with no problem with just a light T-shirt. And for other people, they just can't do that. So that's another thing you want to look at.
Now, Ryan, I'm thinking winter and concealed carry. I'm thinking gloves. Gloves play a big decision role into going out.
I'm not I mean, this is hard for me because I'm not someone who wears gloves often enough, and I honestly prefer just like the smaller because a lot of guns that have your standard concealed carry guns, they're really not glove friendly. If you look at a lot of the old military weapons from the 50s and the 60s, they made, like especially from the Nordic countries, they made exceptions for people wearing gloves because they knew people would wear them. So you'd see these huge trigger guards.
Yeah, big trigger guards on them, yeah.
But in the concealed carry marketplace, it's really not something that's looked at like that. And, I mean, honestly, I personally prefer revolvers, so wearing gloves, unless it's a huge like mitten and it's ridiculous, really isn't a problem for me because most revolver trigger guards are pretty large. Where it might be a problem is with your Glocks, maybe with your smaller ones like your LC9s or your LCP 380s. You may encounter problems there. The only thing it's really a trade-off. I mean, if you're gonna conceal carry and you're gonna wear gloves, I would recommend just like the cheap $1 pair that you have all your fingertips, no mittens or anything like that, because you can't access the trigger. I mean, that's just going to be a trade-off that you make because, are you going to have time to pull your glove off if you need to draw your gun? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But personally, the only gloves I would wear would be ones with where all 5 fingers have their individual little pockets on them.
And just kind of thinking about this now, now maybe I'll do a review on it. But Blackhawk has a pair of winter shooting gloves, and I'm just kind of curious. I mean, I've never shot outside with gloves on before. Kind of like you, when I go sporting clay shooting, I like the feel of the gun in my hand. I don't want anything to mess around with it. But maybe I might try to pick up a pair of those gloves and just see how it feels.
I mean, it's all personal preference. The thing with me is I don't practice with gloves, so I feel like, what if the cloth on the glove gets stuck under the trigger guard and prevents it from rebounding forward after I've shot? Something like that, anything like that. And I mean, I'm in and out of the car and stuff, so I mean, my hands don't really get cold. If I'm shoveling or something like that, I'll wear the gloves like I talked about, but it's really not something that I've ever looked at really too hard. I'm just not a glove person, I guess.
So, there's several things to take into consideration here, and everyone, like you said, Ryan, everyone's different. Everyone's has a different, body type, body shape. We talk about this on Fat to Fit. Everyone is very unique, and so, carry position. You're going to have to find something that's comfortable for you. And, you need to verify that you're going to have the proper retention and decide whether or not how you're going to attach that holster, whether if it's a belt holster, if it's going to be clips or like a slide through or a paddle, or if you're going to pocket carry, because you need a holster to pocket carry. You can't just throw a gun in your pocket.
Well, and I know some people will probably email me with hate mail for this, but I really got to advocate. It may not be for you. You got to practice with it, but I really like cross draw carry. I've always liked shoulder holsters, and cross draw for me, it works. It works especially because when you're seated in the car, you can access the gun. If you've ever tried to get to a gun at 4 o'clock on your hip when you're seated and you have your seatbelt on, it's not easy. You've got to do a lot of movement. With cross-draw, you can stay seated and just reach over and have the gun in your hand. Now, you have to practice with it, though, because you don't want to sweep anything with the muzzle that you don't want to hit, and you need to pay attention to retention. With civilians with concealed carry, it's not as big of a deal because you're not dealing with, prisoners, convicts, and stuff like that when you're like a police officer. That's why you don't really see cross-draw with the police anymore, because the bad guy could just reach forward and pull the gun from the holster when he's facing the officer. But for concealed carriers, it's not as big of a deal because you're not at that that risk. You just got to practice not muzzle sweeping when you draw the gun.
Yeah. Plus, cross draw just looks cooler, right?
No, of course.
It's like the old westerns, right? Yeah,
it reminds me of Law and Order, the original series, and everybody's carrying a little detective special in a cross draw holster.
Well, do we want to move on to gun size and dress? Although I don't personally wear a dress, Ryan, but I guess you want to talk about dress.
Oh, okay. So in the wintertime, I practice with all my guns, so I'm comfortable with them. But in the wintertime, I kind of alter which ones I carry. Since I'm wearing that large coat, I can carry a larger handgun. I can carry something larger than my 5-shot 38. I can carry my Sig Sauer, my P226, or my Smith & Wesson Model 19, and I have shoulder holsters. And people will really discount the shoulder holster just because they think it's, you want to wear that because you want to feel like you're in the movies and you want to be like, the things you see on TV, and that's just jockeying around and whatever. But the shoulder holster really offers a lot of advantages because you can carry a larger handgun as opposed to something you would carry on your belt. If you tried to put that Smith 19 on your belt with that 4-inch barrel, it wouldn't be comfortable when you sat down. But as long as you have that coat on and you have that shoulder holster, you can, wear a long-barreled revolver in like the up and down position with the grip kind of like access right there, and be able to carry that large handgun comfortably. So the wintertime where it changes your dress, that really has an effect on what guns you can choose to carry.
Well, yeah, and with the shoulder holster, it's in your armpit all day, so no one else wants to touch it. So,
right.
And I'm assuming you don't want to dress like the kid from a Christmas Story. He had the snowsuit on, he couldn't put his arms down.
Yeah, you don't want to dress like that. You'll shoot your eye out.
Yeah, so in the wintertime, possibly could lend you to carrying a larger gun, whether it's, shoulder holster or on your hip, or allow you to carry outside the waistband if you normally carry inside the waistband. So it could give you more options. Personally, I'm planning on attempting to carry OWB outside the waistband with the help of some of Duluth Trading Company's longtail tees and the like. Because even if if you get to a restaurant or get to a place where you take your coat off, you're still, if you're technically a concealed carrier, you still need that covered.
Yeah. Now, what's the law going to be for you, Jake? When the concealed carry thing goes in, are you everything has to be concealed? And if
yes, I think I can carry within my house, and that's about it.
Well, I know like some states, I think where open carry is outlawed, if you have a concealed carry permit and that gun just happens to be, like you happen to reach up and the gun is displayed and someone calls the police, you could be charged with brandishing. So I didn't know if that was something, because outside the waistband, depending upon the holster, depending upon the coat you're wearing, I know most coats really snug around the waist. They don't really drape down too low. So that's just one thing you want to think about if that is the case in your state. I think, I'm trying to think of the state. I know there's somewhere they don't have an open carry law, and I've heard of people like at the grocery store with a really tight coat reaching up for something on the shelf. Someone sees it, calls the police.
Well, I think there's a few states like that. Texas, doesn't have open carry, and they have concealed carry, and that's always been a concern in Texas. And that's something they've been working on, trying to also get open carry there for a while. We will not have open carry and do not. But if you look at Wisconsin was similar to us, and they through a court ruling got open carry, and then a year or two later got their concealed carry, and now they have both, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, you're going to have to check your local state laws, and if you live in a real crazy place like New Jersey, you might have to check your city laws.
Oh boy! Hey Ryan, here's a question for you. I don't want this to seem a little unusual. In the waistband carry, are you buying your pants a little bit larger? I mean, you're not rocking a pair of skinny jeans.
Nope. I didn't even factor that in. I honestly pocket carry quite a bit more. I've just now started where it's starting to kind of get wintertime, and because I normally you won't find me in anything but a pair of shorts during the summertime. I was wearing shorts today actually. And my wife made fun of me for it. But typically when I start wearing my pants all the time, I just wear the standard Carhartts, and I really haven't bought them any larger. And it all depends on the gun you're carrying, too. Like, I have a really good Galco holster for my my 38, and so it kind of makes the cylinder not feel so large. And plus, it's only a 5-shot cylinder. It's not a 6-shot, so it's not as thick. So it really it's not uncomfortable or anything in the pants. But if you were carrying like a larger gun, like maybe a Glock 27, like I used to carry, then you may want to, consider purchasing a larger size of pant. But it really all depends on, like I said, your body style and what gun you're carrying.
Now, speaking of larger pants, if you go to Duluth Trading Company or go to gunguyradio.com/Duluth, they actually have a line of pants. I have a pair of shorts like these, but I'm pretty sure they have jeans as well. But they kind of have the old man stretchy type thing in the side there. So they would expand if you put a gun there.
Expandable waistband.
Expandable waistband, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking that if New Jersey should ever allow it, I would probably carry a Glock 19. And if I want to go in the waistband, I probably have to buy bigger pants because not that I wear everything snug, but I mean, I don't wear anything like, loose, baggy hanging off my hips.
It's not as uncomfortable as you would think if you get the right holster. The cheapy, like $10 flimsy leather holsters you may find at like your bargain bin gun shop or whatever. Probably not, but like I used to carry it in a crappy holster like that. I think it was like a Bianchi. It had a little tiny flimsy metal clip, and half the time the holster would come out with the gun. And this was before I knew better. And I spent the money on that Galco one, and it has a plastic clip with a hook, and it actually hooks onto your belt when you pull the gun out. And it has a little piece of like fiberglass that reinforces the mouth, so it keeps the holster on its original form when the gun isn't in there. And that really made a world of difference. It made it so much more comfortable to carry because it shielded the hammer, because my gun's not hammerless. I don't like guns without a hammer. And that hammer used to, grind into my side, and that would be uncomfortable. But the Galco shields the hammer. So it's really, the biggest thing is people will find carrying a gun uncomfortable when they have a crappy holster. And mark my words, every single person who's ever bought a handgun and then said, I need to buy a holster for it, ends up with a box or a drawer full of holsters. You will go through so many holsters before you find the one that fits you perfectly. So don't think that you found the end-all, be-all. If you're uncomfortable, look for a new holster, because 99% of the time, it's not the gun, it's the holster.
Well, I think one of the bigger mistakes people make is they go to Cabela's or even Walmart and buy a holster, and those generally just aren't good holsters. They're just cheap. I mean, they might be good for the range, but for carry, most likely they're not going to provide comfort that you need.
Well, you got to look through them, too, because the one that I got, I actually did buy at Cabela's, the Galco ones. They have their good ones and they have their bad ones. The ones you want to stay away from are like the Uncle Mike's. They're like a ballistic nylon holster. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad holsters, but they're not good for concealed carry. They're not designed for concealed carry. If you were to spend, like, they had I think it was Bianchi. It was a really nice leather holster for a 1911, and that would conceal a 1911 great. It was, like $79. You're going to spend a lot of money for a good holster. That's just how it is. Good quality holster. That Galco one was $35. It was a lot of money, yeah, but was it worth it? Because now it's comfortable to carry the gun, and comfortable carry means I'm actually going to carry it.
Yeah, I mean, when I think good holster, I'm thinking I'm going to be spending at least $50.
Yeah.
And you need a good belt as well. I mean, you're going to be spending at least $50 for a belt, because you're not going to want to use one, like a Walmart Docker's belt or something like that. You need a good thick belt that's going to provide the proper retention and not sag and not warp.
And I'll be the first to admit that, because I use one of those crappy Walmart belts, and it does not work the greatest. It's serviceable, but get a good one.
Don't cheap out. There you go. Yeah.
So I've worn both Comtac and Crossbreed belts, and they're both very sturdy. And this Comtac I have on has a Kydex insert, so it's two pieces of leather with a piece of Kydex, and you can't see it. It's sewn inside them. But generally, a good gun belt is going to be about the thickness of two pieces of leather. So, and it's also going to last, because when I used to wear regular belts, I'd go through at least one a year. When I'd wear a quote unquote Walmart belt, because they'd wear out really quick. But these, actual gun belts, the Crossbreed belt, I've worn that one for years and years, and it's still a great belt. So, they last. So it's a good investment. It's not buying a $10 belt a year. You can buy one of these actual gun belts and wear it for multiple years. And speaking of Duluth Trading Company, they have something called the Lifetime belt. And so I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm gonna put that through the works and see if that holds up to the Comtac or the Crossbreed style belts.
I'll be waiting for a review, Jake.
You will? Well,
Yes.
what waistband are you? Maybe I'll just send you the belt.
35.
35? Why so odd?
I don't know. It's how the good Lord made me.
Let's talk a little bit about bullet selection. So, yeah, Ryan, why don't you take us off on this? Because you talked a little bit about bullet penetration and how most of us for concealed carry handguns will will carry hollow points, and that might actually be a problem in the winter.
Well, it really depends. The thing is, if you look at a lot of the older hollow point rounds, the early hollow point rounds, some of those designs haven't changed for years. The gold dot's been around for years. The gold dot is a proven performer, though. One of the issues is you'll see a lot of the ballistic testing online right now on like YouTube, and they'll show denim in front of the ballistics gel, which is a more accurate comparison when you're trying to show what a hollow point bullet's going to do. And the thing is, say it's summertime and you have to, shoot and it goes through a T-shirt. Well, that T-shirt material may not clog up that hollow point. For the hollow point to work, it has to have that hydrostatic shock when it hits tissue, and the fluid dynamics of it or whatever hit the inside of that hollow point cavity and cause the expansion that you're supposed to see. You really need every advantage you can get when it comes to having hollow point bullets in a handgun, just mainly because you're not going to have the velocity that you would have out of a rifle. Speer makes these gold dot hollow point loads for short barrel revolvers, and it actually says for short barreled revolvers they engineer it to have low flash and they engineer it to expand at a lower velocity, because a 38 out of a long barrel revolver and out of a short barrel, there's going to be a huge difference in velocity there. But one of the issues is those hollow points, your standard hollow points, if someone's wearing like a heavy, whatever polyester material coat or, heavy denim coat, leather coat or something. Yeah. That hollow point can get clogged with that material and it won't expand, and then it'll act like an FMJ. Now, your penetration really depends. Most hollow points are designed to, expand and penetrate to the FBI minimum distance, I think is 12 inches. But the thing is, a lot of people who carry in the summertime will carry like a 380. Well, that 380 may expand fine during the summertime when it only has a T-shirt to go through, but it may not expand so well when it has 4 or 5 layers of clothing to go through from someone who's dressed really heavily in the wintertime. If you've ever watched like the History Channel or something and they've talked about the M1 carbine, they talk about the 30 carbine round in the Korean War during the wintertime not penetrating the heavy wool coats of the Chinese troops. And there's been some testing, and that's kind of debatable whether or not that was the case, but it just gives you kind of pause for thought. If that didn't really happen, why would so many people talk about it? So I can imagine there may have been a few instances, and that's coming out of a carbine. It's not really a rifle round, but still. So if they were having problems there, what sort of problems do you think you could have with a handgun?
There are quite a few ballistic tests online. You can just search YouTube for ballistic tests and maybe even jean or fabric hollow point tests and come up with some answers maybe to what the best round might be for winter carry. What do you carry, Ryan?
In my 38, I carry Speer Gold Dot short barrel designed hollow points, like I was talking about. But it depends. If I'm carrying my 357, I just carry like a semi-jacketed hollow point. I take that chance because I like to be able to practice with the rounds that I carry, and financially, just buying a bunch of the really high performance things with the polymer inserts, like the Hornady critical duty rounds, I wouldn't be able to practice with them as much as I would like while also carrying them. So I've kind of stuck with your standard rounds and just accepted their limitations that they may not expand. But for instance, when I carry my 32, my Colt 1903, I don't carry hollow points in it because I've seen a bunch of ballistic tests with 32 ACP, and none of those bullets ever expand really reliably because they don't get enough velocity. It's not a fast cartridge. So in order to get that penetration, I would much rather just use a full metal jacket, and that's what a lot of people will advocate, especially because the 32 isn't really as fast of a round as like your 9mm. So it may not have those over-penetration issues that you would experience with a 9mm ball round. But it all depends on the caliber. I carry Winchester PDX in my Sig Sauer, my 9mm PDX-1 hollow points, and I've seen good results with those. I search YouTube and I see which ones do well, and that's pretty much it.
Now, I kind of think that it might be safe to say that maybe any kind of police load may be a good starting point, because they have taken these things into considerations for officers carrying, in all climates.
Right, and not only that, but you got to think of the legal ramifications in the aftermath of a self-defense shooting. It's going to be much easier for your defense lawyer, to defend you in court, saying, yeah, my client used the rounds that he consulted with the local police department, found out which rounds they carried for duty, and he chose those rounds. So if it's good enough for the police, why isn't it good enough for my client? So you could see where if you carried some exotic round, you could have some overzealous prosecutors say, oh, well, he was carrying these super duper killer rounds.
Right. That's why some people advocate against you carrying your own reloaded ammunition as well.
I've never, ever carried my own reloads. I've reloaded hollow points for hunting, but I don't want that headache if I have. There's going to be enough going on in that situation where I don't need that extra headache.
Right. Now, Isn't that something you could do for training, though? You could pick your self-defense round that you buy, off the shelf to carry, but then you could see what kind of projectile that is, and then a lot of times you can buy that same hollow point projectile and load up a similar round to practice. That way you're practicing with the same thing at the range, and you could even take an old pair of blue jeans or something and do your own, testing at the range.
The problem is, the only thing I would find to be the issue there would be you don't know what kind of powder they're using and what kind of charge they're using.
That's true, but you could get close. You could at least possibly get the same exact projectile, and that could make a big difference here.
And I have done that. I bought some factory Hornady 32 ACP hollow points, and I also bought the bullets themselves to reload. So I was able to kind of see how each one of them felt and kind of tailor my load to that. It's kind of crazy. It's only 2.8 grains per round of powder.
As we're talking, I think we're coming up with more questions here than answers, because it's not an easy do this, do that, and you're good. It really depends on many factors. What kind of gun you're carrying, what position, what type of retention, what type of clothing are you wearing, what are you wearing gloves or not, and things like that. So there's a lot of things. So my goal with this episode is to just get you thinking and be a little more intentional about choosing, rather than just kind of throwing your everyday carry kit together, thinking about it a little bit more.
And anyone out there that has experience in this department too, we are more than welcome to hear what you guys do. The more ideas, the better. So really keep send some emails in, let us know what you guys do out there.
Yeah, send it to feedback or Jake at gunguyradio.com. Yeah, definitely.
It's all about personal preference, and it's always going to be about personal preference. What I'm comfortable carrying and how I'm comfortable carrying may not be the same thing for you, Jake, or may not be the same thing for you, Jared. But it's you got to think about what your situation is, what you think your threat level is. I know you can't ever, you can underestimate or overestimate any sort of threat, but you're just going to kind of take a view of your surroundings and say, okay, what kind of neighborhood am I carrying in? What's the crime rate around where I live? Do I are there large gangs? Are there just, random attacks? Whatever. I mean, it all comes down to where you are, your geographical location, your climate, and then what you're prepared to carry. I mean, I like switching up my different guns, but I practice with them all. If you don't practice with your different handguns, you may only want to carry that one gun that you're really good with, because, in the heat of the moment, you don't want to go to draw your 1911 and be used to carrying a Glock and forget to take that thumb safety off. So you just want to factor in all those different things. What are you good at? What are you good with? How do you dress? And just basically, it's a lot of personal preference. There's no really wrong answer.
Yeah, it's that you make an intentional choice that you practice with, because it's going to take practice to become proficient, especially with, because I've shot a little bit of IDPA competition, and that's a sport where if you don't know, you have to have a cover garment to kind of replicate that you're concealed carrying. So usually, most guys wear like an old fishing jacket type thing, vest or whatnot, that you have to whip out of the way and then draw your gun and engage. And, as simple as that sounds, that right there takes a lot of practice to get proficient, just if you have an open jacket to brush out of the way. So, you got to think if you're wearing a heavy, because this winter I got a really, really heavy, I think it's called the Iron Range winter jacket or winter coat from Duluth, and that thing is so heavy. I mean it weighs a ton. So just getting that out of the way, if that's the way you're going to be drawing, you got to take that into consideration. Like Jared said, send us feedback, because we're, I admit I'm a total noob when it comes to this, because I haven't been able to carry out in the wild yet because of the state laws here in Illinois. So I'd love to hear your feedback. Tell us, how you carry, what you carry, what position you're carrying. We'll share that on some future shows. So I really appreciate you sending those in. Jake@gunguyradio.com. Well, I'd like to actually thank Duluth Trading Company for sponsoring this episode of Gun Guy Radio. And they have, some great clothing for pocket carry, because they have giant pockets, whether it's the pants or shorts or coats. They have huge pockets. You could probably pocket carry a 1911 in a lot of these. if you could get a pocket carry 1911 holster. But just huge pockets. My everyday carry is I carry this Alzetta Light, which really isn't meant to be a pocket carry light, but these Duluth pants, it fits just fine in my offside pocket. So I carry other things in there too, and I still have plenty of room. So
I tell you what, Jake, I often rock a pair of their ballroom jeans, and one of the many features that I like, besides the extra room, is those deeper pockets. And like the coin pocket in most pants is like so tiny that you can barely stick a couple quarters
it's
in there.
Yeah, I use a coin pocket all the time in these. It's awesome.
Because it's not, when I say it's big, I'm not saying like, oh my God, it's ridiculously ugly or something.
Yeah, I can fit
awesome.
I can fit all four fingers in the coin pocket.
And you could put a pocket knife in there. You could put your flashlight.
Definitely. Or keys.
Keys.
An extra magazine.
You probably could.
Absolutely.
Like an LC9 or something. That's the other thing to take in consideration. Where you're going to carry extra magazines, because Duluth has some really cool fire hose work jeans that have just all kinds of pockets, cargo pockets on the side, like pockets within pockets. So that would be a good option for carrying a backup. Ryan, you could carry a backup revolver in a cargo pocket or something. That might work.
Could carry my mini revolver in the little coin pocket, it sounds like.
You could carry. You wouldn't have to worry about reloads. You could carry so many revolvers in Duluth jeans. So yeah, check it out. GunGuyRadio.com/Duluth. Welcome back to the Gun Guy Radio Product Spotlight, and correspondent Paul Levy is on the line from Brownells. Hey, Paul.
Hey, how's it going?
On the line. That's like an old-timey radio thing or something, I guess. So we're talking. We're going into space, outer space, the final frontier, right?
Yep. We've got a tool from Space Age Weaponry, which we're a little past the space age, but this tool is nonetheless pretty cool. It's called the Deployable Compact Armors Tool, and you get about 30 or 40 probably different functions out of this tool for it's mainly for the AR-15 or M16 is what it's designed for. But they just crammed as many operations as possible into this one item. I'll try and run through a few. I'm going to miss some, I'm sure. But when you first look at this, the rubber cap, well, I should back up a bit. This whole item will fit in an A2 buttstock, or say if you got web gear or in your range bag, it's easy to just throw in. You can perform. It's great for just any armor's function or maintenance while you're at the range, or you're in a situation where you can't get to your magnet tip set or your punches and hammers. Taking it apart, you first got this rubber cap. This also functions as a muzzle cap. It goes over your bird cage or anything that size. So that's a nice.
Yeah, a thread protector maybe.
Yeah, it's great for just throwing it on your muzzle, especially if you're in a dusty climate. It's raining, you don't want anything in your muzzle. Throw that on. Cool. Taking it apart, it's got this pin here. Pull this out. Already, this pin serves a function beyond just holding everything together. You take this wire out, and this will act as an installation tool for the front takedown pivot on a lower receiver. You'll put this in place of it, put that D10 in here, push a punch through, which this includes, and then rotate it, and then install your pin. So already there's one tool. Taking it apart, you can see the main core, which holds quite a few of the functions of the DCAT. On one end, you've got a carbon scraper. This, of course, scrapes the inside of the carrier. Also, this end pulls out. This is where the punches can be inserted, which I'll show you here in a sec. Moving down, again, like I said, there's a lot of items on this. Here we have a screwdriver. This functions or fits perfectly on the carry handle screws on an A3, A4 carry handle. Also works with ACOG screws, so those big screws on the side. That'll tighten those right up. It also has a wrench for the gas tube. This here will clamp down tight on it. So say you're pulling out that tight gas tube that's been well used, carbon's built up, just clamp this down on it, and that allows you to get it loosened up and then pull it out. What is that? 4 things already?
I already lost count.
Yeah. Also on here, if you have an A1 rear sight, this portion here adjusts the A1 rear sight. This depresses the detent, and then you just rotate. So pretty easy. You'll notice down here it's got one bit already in it, and then there you got your screwdriver. This bit here is specifically for the gas key screws, so you can tighten those up if you need. Also on the main body, you have various other bits. You'll see this end that for the main housing. This turret rotates, and you got different bits inside there.
Oh, very cool.
Each serving a different function. Let's see what this one is here. And
it's like a Pez dispenser.
Yep.
For bits.
There's another Allen bit. I'm sure that fits something on an AR-15 that I can't recall off the top of my head.
It's got to fit something.
Yep. Here's just a standard screw. This will fit your stock screws. Of course, any screw you could need. Basically, with this tool, you can almost assemble an entire AR-15 with just using this, if you had to. Here, this bit is for front sight adjustment. You can see the detent there. That'll adjust A2 front sight. Should adjust A1s as well, although I haven't tried that. And that will fit right into the bit center here, or the bit holder. And then also, if you do install that, you can use the body as a driver, like so. So that's pretty handy as well. As I take this apart, I'm about halfway through all the things it can do. Maybe not even that. So you take this portion apart in half. I'm taking apart the inner body. This punch here is for the trigger pins. You can use that as a slave pin when you're installing your triggers or for driving them out. And then inside this other half, you have your little punches. And those will come out like so. This particular one has a punch on one side and then is recessed so you can start your roll pins. This one here
awesome.
will start your I believe this one is the same size for your bolt catch roll pin. So if we go back to the main body, which we have here, you'll notice this is chamfered nicely. I'll get to that in a second. There's 2 holes here. This will insert, well, maybe not on this one. There's another size punch that will insert here so that you can install that bolt catch roll pin without being awkward trying to get on the side of the receiver without marring it.
Very cool.
And then this recess is actually for the rear of an A2 stock. You can install an A2 stock with this here. That's why that cutout is done like that. And then these 2 holes, again, hold punches. I'm pretty sure that's everything on the body. Again, when you assemble everything, I'll get back to that once I'm through discovering things. Also on this internal piece, you have a magazine feed lip tool. This can adjust magazine feed lips on USGI style mags. That fits on those perfectly. So you can, if they get bent out of shape, and you drop the magazine on the feed lip, you can torque it back into shape. A neat little feature too. They included a magnet so your punches stay in. I'll show you that here. There are punches installs like so.
That's awesome.
Put this back together. This portion here also functions with standard GI cleaning rods. So you could attach a cleaning rod, say with your chamber brush, and use this to rotate your chamber brush, or you could use it to pull it all the way through, or do whatever else for your firearm. So I'm going to flip this bit around. Bear with me. We'll assemble it again. We'll see how many parts I lost.
I need a separate diagram just to tell me what all these parts are.
The instructions here are pretty impressive. We do have a dedicated video on our website, but Space Age Weaponry does have a PDF for the instructions. This is all that you can do with the tool. It's 40 pages long. But I've got it reassembled here. The pins placed back in, punch here, and this is all one solid piece. So you can hit this end with a rock, or if you have a hammer, of course, you can make use of that punch. And you're not gonna bend or break anything inside here, since it's all one rigid piece of steel, and then the outside is aluminum. So a pretty robust design with a lot of features. If you're away from your workbench, yeah. I think that's everything I'm going to be able to find on this for now, anyways.
If you're in the field and you need to fix your AR or build a new one, whatever you need to do. Build one from scratch. It's pretty awesome. It's quite a engineering feat. I mean, they first they probably decided, can we make every tool you need to fit into your buttstock, and how do we do that?
Yeah, and you know what? They could have done it where it could have done a bunch of things, nothing really well. But this actually does quite a few operations fairly well. As far as the screwdriver, the carbon scraper, the gas tube holder, it's well done. It's machined well, and it's a small package, and it works.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. It's pretty awesome. So, is this fairly new? Has this been out a while?
Yep. This we just added this not too long ago, just a few months back. It's a pretty neat little item. We're currently retailing it for $149.99. We don't see a whole lot of new tools coming down the pipe. This is one of those cool ones that gets everybody excited when they see it. Once they figure it out, anyways.
It's it's that perfect gift for that hard to buy for gun guy. Yeah, it's something they probably don't have.
Yeah, they probably don't have this yet. They may have a multi-tool, but even a lot of gun-oriented multi-tools, they serve a different purpose, or they're more for general use. And this, you can basically do everything on an AR with this one tool.
Well, and just a reminder, we're giving away some of the products we're talking about on the Gun Guy Radio Product Spotlight. So we're giving away a Stormlink barrel of your choice and a Streamlight Game Spotter rail-mounted tracking light, and that's going to be next week. So stay tuned for more info on that, and go to gunguyradio.com/winner to enter. So, well, thank you, Paul, for sharing a space-age weaponry. Is that the actual company name? That's so cool.
Space-age weaponry, yeah.
That's awesome. That's
it's kind of retro, huh?
I hope they make a phaser next. So
it somewhat looks like a phaser.
I mean, it does. It looks like I think
it looks like Captain Kirk's. There you go.
It looks like some of the tools they use in in some of those space shows when they're fixing the hyperdrive or whatever.
Yep, Scotty would be impressed with this one.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks, Paul. We'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you then.
Well, I have a few feedbacks here. Do you guys want to read these? Jared, do you have these up?
Yeah, yep, I see it. Yep.
You want to take the first one from Daniel?
Sure. All right, it says, hey, Jake, I used to own one of the Mossberg, was that 715T? Is that what it says? I think so.
Yeah, I think it stands for tactical, the 715. So it's an AR-15 lookalike.
Okay, that's why I'm not familiar with this sucker. Okay. Saw it in the Cabela's ad. Drove 3 hours to get it and was disappointed when I saw it. I figured I drove 3 hours and I might as well get to make my trip worth it. It's basically their 22 Plinkster model, similar to the 1022, but way lower quality, with a plastic shell wrapped around it that gives it a tactical look. It feels very cheap, very plastic. I had lots of problems with failures to eject and failure to strip a round from the magazine and load into the chamber. I sold it as quickly as I could, and at gun shows I see them frequently for $199. That's actually really darn cheap, isn't it?
So this Mossberg 15T is the cheapest or least. I don't know. He's saying it's cheap as well, but the most cost-effective AR-15 lookalike 22 out there. Because if you look at the Smith & Wessons or the Colt Walthers or ones like that, they're in the $400 range. And this, you can often get it for about the $200 range.
I hear Mossberg, and I automatically think shotguns. And that's what, my personal opinion, that's what Mossberg does best. So I don't have any experience with that gun, but it sounds like I will not have any experience with that gun.
Yeah, I held one a while back, and it was really like it felt like they just took like the Mossberg, like the standard Mossberg 22 semi-auto action, like you would get on just a standard tube-fed rifle or magazine-fed rifle, and threw a like he said an outer shell over it. I don't know. Like he is very correct. The M&P 1522 is a great option if you're looking for that tactical style, or even the Ruger 1022. Like I remember. I don't know if you guys remember this when when the whole just as the whole 22 tactical thing was coming around, that whole 22 tactical rifle fad. Ruger came out with one that the SR-25 or SR-22 or something like that, the rifle.
Yeah,
and
it's hideous. That's the worst one out there.
And I someone got it and I shot it and I was like, if they were looking to make this feel like an AR-15, they failed.
Well, that's the same deal, right? It's basically a 1022 that's been hacked away at, and
I mean, I could have made it feel more like a AR-15 using one of the aftermarket kits,
right? Yeah.
So I mean, I see where Mossberg's coming from, but that whole outer shell, I felt it. It doesn't even feel like a really a decent plastic. It feels like a very toy-like plastic. And I mean, I'm sure it's, if you fluff and buff the gun and do some work on the internals, you may get it to run right.
Can you fluff and buff plastic?
Who knows,
Put some turtle wax on it. Maybe. Good to go. So now they have kind of upgraded them because they originally Mossberg came out with the carry handle tactical rail model, which looked really dumb, but now they have a flat top model with it actually has a flash hider and everything, a threaded barrel. So that looks like a little better option. So I don't know, but Daniel, thanks for sharing. It's good to hear real world reviews of any gun out there, and that's what the Firearms Insider is about. The gun and gear reviews. We like this, if I think I may even ask Daniel to review this, but like something like this, you can leave a review on the Firearms Insider, and if you think it gets a 2 out of 10, then you say it gets a 2 out of 10, and then the community can also rate it. So the community might think on average that it's not quite that bad. So.
Ken writes, I just finished listening to the latest podcast. Only last week my wife bought me a Remington 597 for our anniversary. I took it to the range the next morning, and after 250 rounds, I must say that it is quite a bit of fun to shoot. Good gun, good scope, great value. You made a fine choice including it in your review.
Oh, that's right. That was the episode when you're doing tactical guns, and that was a very good episode, Jake. Good job.
I like that one. The AR-7, you talked about the AR-7, and that's always been a really fun gun to mess around with.
Yeah, that's a cool gun. So the Remington Model 597, it is Remington's version of the 1022, I guess you could say. It's their bread and butter 22 caliber rifle. So it's autoloader, magazine fed. And they come in 10-round magazines and 25-round, I think.
Ooh, I'm looking on the Remington website here, and they got an AACSD model.
Yeah, that's the one I talked about. It's threaded for suppressor. Yeah, I talked about that last episode. So, yeah, Ken says, this. So if you're looking, between the Mossberg and the Remington, you might want to go with this.
I think I might be going Remington, yeah.
I looked at these very seriously. This was this was actually the gun I was seriously looking at buying a year or a year and a half ago when I was going to a few different Dick's Sporting Goods, and they would not take the trigger lock off of it for me to look at the action more closely.
I don't know. It's... For me, when it comes to getting a 22 rifle, like before I bought a Marlin Model 60, I bought a Remington semi-auto. I don't think it was a 597. It was a different model. It was like a Walmart special. And I mean, with all the accessories and all the different things you have available for the Ruger 1022, I couldn't really see buying any, I hate to say it, but anything other than that. I've never cleaned my 1022, and I think I've put over 2,500 rounds through it easily in the time I've owned it, and it's never jammed on me once.
Yeah. Well, but really when you're looking at 22s, none of them are perfect because ammo plays a huge role, and a lot of 22 ammo you can get a lot of ammo that's just your gun just does not like at all.
Well, and then a lot of it's outside lubed, which is a big deal. I've gotten some of like the Cellier and Bellot, it's like Rex, it says on it, 22 long rifle ammo, and it has this really thick lube on the outside of it. And a lot of it has like a thin coating of some sort of lube because it is an outside, it's a heeled bullet, so, the outside of it, but that can gum up the chamber. And different guns are more sensitive to that than others.
Yeah, the Remington here, though, the 597, so it's MSRP's for 204, so it must be, the standard model must be well under $200 in the store.
Oh, that's
so it
not bad at all.
Yeah, it might come out to be close to $100 less than a 1022, so that might be a good option.
$100? Well, yeah, okay. I think I paid $165 for my 1022 carbine model at our local Walmart.
Oh, really? That cheap? Okay.
2 years ago.
I was thinking 1022s are close to $3, but I guess that's the takedown I'm thinking about.
Yeah, just the basic carbine model. I think you can maybe tops $179.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, a few
you guys
years
can buy
back,
guns at your Walmart. And you guys can buy ammunition at your Walmarts.
We could buy black powder at our Walmart.
You see that? I tell you. I live in the armpit of the nation here. I get nothing.
Well, we'll let you come visit, Jared.
It's only like a 6-hour drive north. You'll be all set.
There you go. That's closer than I am. You go handgun hunting with Ryan.
Oh, Lord. We'll have a good time, though.
I got a private range. We'll take you out.
Awesome. So, I'd like to, again, thank Duluth Trading Company for sponsoring this episode of Gun Guy Radio. Please visit gunguyradio.com/Duluth for all your cold weather gear. They also have some gloves. For my day job, I need gloves that have a few fingers exposed, kind of like the carpenter's gloves. I don't know if you've seen those, but they have some. It used to be that you just buy a regular pair of gloves and cut some fingers off, but now you can buy them pre-cut off, kind of like the ripped up jeans, I guess. But I got a pair of those, so that could be an option for carrying. You have gloves on, but your trigger finger is exposed. Yeah,
I mean, that's definitely something I would take into consideration. Absolutely.
And they just think you're a carpenter, right?
It's all part of the disguise.
Yeah. So just wear a hammer on your belt with your gun and be good to go. So I also like to thank Ryan Cross, Hunter Design, hunterdesign.com. Ryan's designed almost all the amazing artwork on the Firearms Radio Network. I think the only show at this point he hasn't designed is We Like Shooting. And the We Like Shooting guys actually asked about having him design theirs, but I said, no, I like your guys' logo. Don't if it works, don't change it. But
yep. Ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. So Ryan's designed, including all the Firearms Insider artwork. He designed some really awesome banner ads I have on the different Firearms Radio Network shows, ads that go to the Firearms Insider website. They're very nice looking. So hunterdesign.com if you need any kind of graphics artwork. And don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link, gunguyradio.com/satisfaction. And that about wraps up the show this week. So, Ryan, Handgun Radio, what episode? You're up to episode, 18?
Last week was episode 18. I think we talked about buying a used gun and what to look for.
Yeah, you're doing great. I really look forward to every episode. So that releases, remind me, what date is that release?
Every Tuesday right around 4 a.m. So if you're up that early, you can listen to it then. And then we got the round table coming up on the 24th.
I get you up early, don't I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Plug your round table. What are you doing?
Yeah, it was going to be on the 23rd. We had to move it to the 24th, but it's going to be a live Google Hangout just like this. The link will be posted on the Handgun Radio Facebook page, and I'm sure Jake will share it on whatever other pages. And that'll just be a few listeners that I asked if they wanted to get together and just do a little hangout and I'll come up with, 5 or 6 topics of discussion and just kind of have a roundtable just like this with the listeners and kind of get some interaction, and I'll release that as an episode so that way, it's pretty much been a one-man episode this entire time except for the interview with my Australian friend. So it'll be interesting to have some guests on the show and get to hear their feedback and their different points of view on some of the topics we've covered.
Oh, very cool. Yeah,
it sounds good.
One man shows are some of my favorites actually, because the non-gun. I listen to mostly non-gun related podcasts because all I do is gun stuff. But I listen to business and personal development and stuff like that. And
Martha Stewart Living.
Yeah, you got it. I almost have my doilies finished, so I'll be sharing those. But a lot of those are one-man podcasts, like the Michael Hyatt "This Is Your Life" podcast. I used to listen to Dave Ramsey a lot. That show. A lot of the bigger, more popular shows are just singular. But that's very cool. You're doing a listener hangout, and what time is that? So it's November the 24th. What time?
Yeah, we're looking at it right around 8:30. So that way it gives we got one listener who's over on the Pacific Coast. That gives him time to.
So do you think that's the time you're going live, or?
Yeah, I believe that'll be the time we're going live. So.
Okay, so
cool.
8:30 Eastern, right?
Yeah, 8:30 Eastern.
Thank you. Appreciate
So how many do you have joining you?
I've got 3 other guys joining me.
Okay. Oh, very cool. I mean, maybe you can even take on some more if they're listening now. They can contact you.
Yeah, definitely. They can email me, ryan@handgunradio.com, or they can get a hold of me by messaging the Handgun Radio Facebook page.
Yeah, or if you're a lady, I mean, you're kind of unbalanced there, Ryan.
Anybody. Equal opportunity.
Wait, don't say equal opportunity. We'll have to get one of every race and gender. But yeah, very cool. So it's going to be on this feed. If you're watching Gun Guy Radio live right now, it's going to be on the Firearms Radio Network's master YouTube feed. So follow the Firearms Radio Network on Google Plus to be the first to know. That's firearmsradio.tv/plus. We'll get you there. And, very cool. So, Jared, how's things going on Firearms Insider?
I tell you, I am really excited to see what's going on. So much guns, gears. We've expanded. I've actually expanded a little bit to bring in more, like, let's say, clothing, shooting shirts, things like that. The Firearms Insider is really taking off, and we're getting some good feedback from it. And anyone out there is more than welcome to pitch in. Email Mike. You can email me, Jared, at firearmsinsider.tv. If you got something you want to review, really, reach out to me. We'll get you the outline. It's just a wonderful webpage that gives you honest reviews. It's not just, oh, hey, Mossberg gave us something. Let's make them shine. It's, hey, you know what? This gun was great, or this gun stunk. Right. And it's right. And it's great because then other people can pitch and say, hey, you're right, I agree, or no, I disagree. I think it's much better for this reason. So anyway, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's worthwhile.
Yeah, there's stars at the top. There's 10 stars that are that you can click on. So you can click, 1 through 10 and give that a rating. And then the comments right below the stars there at the bottom, just type in, why you gave it that review. And then, we start building a thread and start a conversation. So, if you leave a comment on any of these reviews, the author or Mike or Jared are going to, pitch in or, comment back and, have a little discussion. So, and I don't know, I probably haven't talked to you about this, Jared, but, Mike and I were talking about that maybe because, we do have manufacturers actually give us stuff to review. So we're thinking that maybe we come up with like an icon or something that we put on the reviews that for things that we receive from manufacturers to differentiate those, so that just so that we have more openness and authenticity. That if we get something from Cabela's or some company, if we get something that has a little icon that's like, oh, that was provided by the manufacturer. Not that it's going to be biased, but just so that transparency, right? We didn't buy this with our own money, but going with that same idea, you'll have a different icon if you do buy it with your own money. This is something I purchased with my hard-earned cash. I reviewed it, and here's what I think. Amazon kind of does a similar thing. They have the Amazon Vine program where they provide reviewers with products to review, and there'll be a little Amazon Vine icon showing that product was provided by Amazon. And so I thought it might be a good idea if we kind of emulate some of those same ideas here. Now, according to the Amazon Vine program, people are actually a little more critical if they get the stuff through the Vine program. So I found that interesting, that if people get stuff for free, they can tend to be a little more critical. Because I could kind of see that being, if you buy something with your hard-earned cash, I think sometimes we may have the mindset that
towards it, yeah,
that I bought this, so I want to like it. I spent this money on it, so I
want it to be the best. Yeah,
right.
So
that's what's cool about the community aspect of this is everyone gets to vote. Everyone gets to weigh in. So.
Hey guys, I gotta run, but thank you so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it. And Ryan, I'll
appreciate you.
I'll be putting your reviews up on the Insider. So
excellent, thanks. Good talking to you, Jared.
You too, guys. You have a great night.
All right, you too. Well, that wraps it up. So you can send feedback to jake@gunguyradio.com. Record a voicemail message using the SpeakPipe plugin on the right-hand side of Gun Guy Radio, and don't forget to purchase Gun Guy Radio stickers. Yes, we still have stickers. GunGuyRadio.com/stickers. They're nice 4-inch vinyl die-cut indoor-outdoor stickers. Ryan, do you have one of these yet?
I got ones plastered right on the back window of my car, and I've just had to scrape it 2 or 3 times, and it's still there, so they stay
awesome.
Good. It's on the outside, too, so.
Very cool. And remember to leave us an iTunes review. It helps the show, helps other people find it. You can go to gunguyradio.com/iTunes. And we're on Facebook, we're on Google+, we're everywhere. Twitter, you can follow me at Jacob Challen on Twitter. And you're on Twitter too, right, Brian?
Armachad.
Spell that.
RMICHAD.
Okay, very cool. So you can also please join the NRA and the Second Amendment Foundations. I have direct links every show on the bottom of the show notes. I have direct links to both of those, and they really help on the political stuff that we don't talk about on this show, but also every other aspect of our gun rights. And don't forget to check out the Firearms Radio Network Android app. If you're not an iPhone user, if you're one of those Android guys, if you have, I don't even know what Android phones are called anymore. The Razor.
Who knows?
There's a lot of them. There's like 1 billion of them, so it's hard to keep track of them. So firearmsradio.tv/Android. You can even get it on your Kindle. That is because I don't have any Android devices, but then I realized my Kindle Fire HD is an Android, so I was able to download it on there, and it works great. You can listen to any of the shows, and don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network, including We Like Shooting. Check them out, give them a like, give them an iTunes review. Really appreciate it. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. Thank you, Ryan.
Hey, thank you. It was a good time.
And don't forget that live show next Sunday. And
definitely,
can't wait.
Be fun.
Can't wait. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.